Hey y'all, welcome back to the Dancer's Choice podcast. I'm Riley.
And I'm Dawson.
And guess what? We're back with another guest.
Surprise, surprise.
Surprise. Myles, would you like to introduce yourself?
What's up, you guys? I'm Myles Canonge. Happy to be here.
Welcome to the Dancer's Choice podcast. For those of you who don't know Myles, honestly, we do a little pre-intro before this episode even starts. So Myles, please tell everyone who you are, where you started, where you are now. Give us the rundown. Share your story.
So much. Geez, I don't even know where to start. I guess I'll start with I'm a professional dancer. I dance, I do that. I'm an artist, creative, imaginative person. I started dancing super late, like when I was 17. And then went to Point Park with these lovely people here. And I've been doing professional dance ever since. I also coach fitness, and I also do creative consulting as well.
That is so cool.
That's kind of the gist.
Okay, so I always love to dive deeper. We pick people's brains on here. What did you do prior to dancing? Because I'm always so intrigued and admire people's stories when I hear it was like, oh, I started, I hate saying this, but quote unquote late. I don't think it's ever a late time to start, but it's deemed late in our industry for some reason. But
right.
What was that like? Like, how'd you get into dancing?
Yeah, so I was definitely an athlete. I played baseball, I played football. Was definitely like, I'm going to college for baseball, I'm going to college for football. Like one of those two was the journey, was the dream. And my mom, she would dance. And I just grew up kind of seeing her dance like in our church, in our ministry. And I would just watch that. And that would just, it did something to my heart when I was really little. And I never forget this moment. We were watching, I was watching her rehearsal and she was like, watch this guy dance. Like, if you watch Tom, his name was Tom. And she was like, if you watch Tom, like he's so good, just watch him dance. And I just remember feeling like something different come over me. Something just was like, I was so inspired. And I don't know, I was maybe like 6 or 7. But that was the first moment dance entered the chat, entered my life and really like touched me. And then from that point on, dance kind of became this escape for just life. I started dancing like by myself. The first dance video I saw was Nonstop. I don't know, Pumped Up Kicks. Such an old video. It was iconic at the time though. I just remember seeing it and I was like, this dude is dancing on his toes. This dude's like gliding. He's like, there's so much control over his body. Like it was so inspiring and just amazing. I was in awe. And from that moment on, I just was like dancing in my room by myself late at night, just like to pump up kicks, like to dubstep, like just a little angsty vibe. But then it got serious in high school when my high school had a dance program. And Zach, you guys know Zach August.
Yeah.
Zach August and I went to high school together. We went to middle school together. We were going from 8th grade to 9th grade, seeing the bigger school, the high school, and our other friend Michael. We all were just like in the bleachers during the pep rally, and we just see these guys come out and they're like breakdancing and they're like they're doing backflips, head spins, and like all this cool stuff. And we're just like, what is happening right now? Like, what is happening? This is amazing. And we all just look at each other and we're like, we have to dance. Like, if you do it, I'll do it. And from that moment on, it was just like dance became all of our passions. And like, we all still dance to this day. So we're all professional dancers. And that, shout out to Creekview High School, because they really, shout out to Miss Eddings and Miss Hardaway, my teachers in high school. They really like provided a safe space for men to dance and to feel confident and comfortable expressing their artistry, expressing their creativity. And it was really just, that was, I want to say, the birth of this journey that I'm doing now. But yeah, none of it would have happened if it wasn't for friendship and camaraderie, and also God. Like, absolutely God. I was a junior And I was like, I don't know where I'm going to college. I don't know. Like, none of this stuff feels, everything that I want to do, it doesn't feel right in my heart. Like, my heart feels so out of alignment. Like, God, what is it that you want me to do? And I remember being at my grandparents' house, and I just had a meltdown. I had a meltdown, and I was like in the shower, and I'm just like, God, like crying. I'm just like, God, what do you want me to do? Like, none of this makes sense. And then literally the Holy Spirit just hit me. And I was just like, I want you to dance and spread my love and joy through this art form. Like, this will be the door. And I'm sobbing. I'm a mess. And from that moment on, I'm just like, okay, I'll obey. Like you said, and I will do. So from that moment, I was just like, I don't know how, because I don't know what I'm doing at all, but I know that you can make a way. So from that moment on, I quit all my athletics, quit baseball. My baseball coaches were kind of mad, and it was a whole thing. And my dance teachers were like, wait, you're quitting baseball? And I was like, yeah. And they were like, wow, okay. And I was like, yeah, I'm taking this seriously now. And then got to Point Park with Zach. We auditioned. That was a hot mess. That was the craziest audition. We had no idea what we were doing at all. No idea. We're at bar, and they're like Tandu, and we're just like looking around at other people like
what does that
we're
mean?
just like putting our, like, literally I have no clue what these French words are. Like like at all.
So wait, what was like the dance program in high school then that you did?
So it was more creative than it was like disciplined. Like, we were introduced to ballet, we were introduced to modern, to jazz, but it was almost like it was just a taste of these things. Like, we had a jazz unit or a ballet unit, and it was just like, okay, we'll do like a plie. So I'm like, I know the basics, but like, that's it. We only did it for a month, maybe not even a month, maybe 2 weeks. You know, so not enough to sink in and like absorb, but just enough to like spark my mind and I guess anchor it to this space. Yeah, exactly. But other than that, we never trained in these things, so it was just like a shot in the dark, and I'm just like, okay, cool. Yeah,
that's crazy. So y'all went to the audition together, and then like the way that y'all both made it
divine.
Like, yeah, no, that's actually so crazy. Like, I didn't even know that you and Zach like really like basically grew up together, started dancing together. Like, that's insane.
Literally best friends. It's funny, the way we met, because I transferred to a new school in 8th grade. The way we met was during a theater class, and we had like a dance unit in theater, and like I was dancing behind closed doors at the time. So I'm like, oh, I love dance. Like, I'm so sick of dance. Like, my head is full. And there's another person who's like, there's someone who could dance better than you in our grade. And I'm like, can they? Like, who is this? I'm like, who is this? What's their name? And they're like, his name's Zach. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm thinking in my head, like, we have to battle because I'm the best. Like, all of this. Man's knows nothing about dance. I'm like, I'm jumping the gun.
Early 2000s. Like, I know what I'm doing. He has no idea what he's doing.
He doesn't know dance like I know dance. It's crazy. Neither of us knew dance. But then I just remember we tried it for basketball together. And I met him, and he was so cool. And we ended up like riding the bench the entire season together, but we just became best friends through like sitting on the bench at basketball. And like, we would just hang out all the time. And we started like dancing together, and we were just like best friends from that moment on. So, and I was like, God, if someone comes with me, or I just hope that there's some type of familiarity, like when I'm leaving, because it's Pittsburgh, like we're from Texas. So I'm like, there just needs to be some familiarity with where you're sending me. And then lo and behold, he's like, yeah, I'm going to audition for Point Park 2. And let me backtrack, because we actually knew about Point Park our junior year. We went to the National High School Dance Festival.
There we go. I was about to ask like, y'all find this.
That's the connection. Yeah. I was like, I didn't make that 3 point, but But at the time, I'm like, God, I'm not coming here. It's cold. Like, it's snowing crazy.
Yes,
like,
it is.
It's me.
Ew,
I was like,
dark.
what am I doing?
What am I doing here? Like, I'm not coming here. And I was so just turned off from Pittsburgh. But then, yeah, just after the audition, I entered the building and I just felt peace like wash over my body. And I was like,
that's how you know.
Yeah.
This is gonna be home for the next 4 years. Like before the audition, I just walked through the doors and I was like, it's here.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Yeah.
Wow. That confirmation. And honestly, the way that
Okay.
like man can't do life alone, and it's like taking on an endeavor, like a big step like that, you wonder like, how am I gonna do it? And God literally said, just like, follow me and I'll give you a companion to go alongside you.
Literally, I got you. Like, don't worry about it. Just go.
Just
go.
Be obedient, and like I will fit everything else into place.
Exactly.
That's
and like
crazy.
Also backtracking to the fact that simply just being inspired by watching performances at your school led you to now having a successful dance career is crazy, and like had me thinking for a second that like, what if one of our performances is what's causing someone else to do the same thing?
Yeah.
No,
like, doesn't matter what age in your life, what time in your life, like one performance could literally change the entire path of someone else's life.
Yeah.
So crazy.
It like, I guess just to, it reminds me to bring Bible into this. It just reminds me of like Paul and Silas, just praising and worshiping after they're in prison, and then a whole Roman family gets saved. And so it just reminds me of like, well, don't be afraid of like doing what's on your heart. It doesn't matter who's watching. It doesn't matter like how you feel about it. But if you're called to do it, because you don't know who that's like opening the door for. So after that moment, I was just, and it's crazy because the guys we watch dance, they don't even dance anymore. But in that moment, it was just like, it was divine timing. And they were passionate about it. And I'm sure are still passionate about it. But God just ordained that whole moment to spark this journey, which was so good. So good.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm like,
I love
chills.
it. No, literally. It's so amazing.
Cool.
It's so amazing.
Never too late. So fast forward, go to Point Park. What was like the biggest eye opener or thing you learned with your time there? Because a lot of our listeners are either active in college programs right now, new to dance, or going on their professional careers post college. What was that experience like for you, especially because that was probably the first time you were truly training disciplined, as we talked about, as far as like technique goes?
Point Park was a whirlwind for me, y'all. Like it was really hard. It was really hard. I struggled a lot my freshman through junior year, to be really honest. Like freshman year was just a shock to my entire nervous system, body, like everything. Being away from home, being in a different city, different leaders, different learning like tools that I'm needing to pick up. It was just a whole culture shift entirely. And on top of that, I'm coming from this athletic background. There was such a determination. Like, even though I don't know what I'm doing, I can grind, and I will eventually bear the fruit of this hard work that I can see myself doing. Like, if I'm here, like I'm here to work at the end of the day. So put me through it. If it sucks, it's going to suck only for a moment, but at some point it's going to change and get better, and I'm going to be good. And I just remember Zach and I started in like the B.A program, and no like shots to the B.A program because they're equally amazing. But we were like, we want to do the B.F.A program. Like, we're not taking as many dance classes. We're not embedded in dance as much. And I just remember like kind of being pissed and just like irked, because I'm like, I'm only taking ballet once a week. I'm only like doing modern once a week. Like, I came here to dance. What are we doing?
Yeah.
So then I just remember we had to audition for the B.F.A program and choreograph like a minute solo or something. And I was like, no, they're gonna know how serious I am about this, and choreographed my solo, cut the music for the solo. And looking back on it, was so bad, but I know that I was so passionate about it. It was so bad, y'all. It was such angst. It was such an angsty moment, but it was like, but I knew my passion was like, that was the thing that's going to carry me. Cause I'm like, if I don't have the skill, I have the passion. And that's the thing that's going to help me wind in the skill, because I'm so determined. And I remember Jason, it was like Jason, Keisha, and Garfield, and they were all just like, okay,
what a panel.
tough crowd. I was like, okay.
Yeah, that's a tough one. That's a tough one. I'm shaking in my boots. I can't do this.
Yeah, it was. I was like, okay, Lord, it's on you, because I don't got it. But I just remember them, like Jason just like looking at me, and he was like, yeah, okay. And I just remember, like, from that moment, the Holy Spirit was just like, get ready to work. This is what you wanted, so get ready, be prepared to work. You're gonna have to work hard. And I didn't realize how hard I was actually gonna have to work, though. Like, we have an expectation of like, this is what it's gonna look like, but it was 10 times harder. And but I was still so determined, because I was like, everyone's coming here who they started dancing when they were 2. I started dancing a year ago, if that. So I have some catching up to do, and so I was on a grind. Like, I didn't go home a lot for breaks. I stayed, and I would just like stay in the studio and dance and work on technique, and just like explore movement. And even, the days would be from like 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. if you have rehearsal. And then after that rehearsal, I would still go back to the studio and like just dance some more, because I was like, I want to be so embedded in this thing that I know it like the back of my hand. And I just did that for like 3 years. And then senior year, I just remember just blossoming. Like, one day I could do the splits, and I was like, what? I was like, okay. And then like one day, like my feet were starting to point, and I was like, that's crazy. I had bricks this entire time. I didn't think it was going to change, or, like, it was, but it was slow and steady, wins the race type of thing. But yeah, I feel like I had to sacrifice a lot of things. Like, I didn't really hang out with friends a lot. Like, I still made friends and I still hung out with people, but there was still a priority of like, I came here to work. And so it was really hard sometimes, because I felt alone a lot. But at the same time, the goal was still at the forefront of my mind, of like, this is where we're headed. This is where the destination lies. And like, there's no stopping until we get there.
I have so much respect for you, like, hearing that, because I'm thinking of like when I first entered Point Park, and I am one of those said dancers that started dancing at 3, and it's like, I literally had moments I was like, do I stay here? Like, is this really what I'm supposed to be doing? Like, I'm scared going from like grinding all day and then going home and having a mental breakdown, because I'm like, is this really it?
Yeah.
And the way you're like, oh yeah, I started dancing a year ago, I'm just like, that is the ambition that I need. And I think that level of ambition and work ethic is almost lost nowadays. And because people don't want to make the sacrifice. Obviously, you want to find like healthy balance, but I think that's just so inspiring to hear that you're like, yeah, we got done at 10 and I'm still going to go back to the studio.
Yeah. Of course, I did not want to do that at all. Like, trust me, I was like, I want to go to the crib, like, and sleep. But there was still this, just like, these people have been dancing for 10 years already. And like, I have to make up for lost time. So it was rough, but that gave me a whole different sense of discipline and endurance, for sure.
100%. Like, not just physical, but mental and spiritual endurance as well. It's like, like you said, hard work and bear the fruit from it. And you saw that last year, the senior year. So that's really inspiring just to hear, and hopefully confirmation for someone listening and wondering if they're going to be able to like see the same. Possible.
Stick with it.
Yeah. I can literally attest to this, because my freshman year, I was a scared little freshman, and my first jazz class was with Keisha, and Myles was in my jazz class, actually.
Oh my gosh, I actually remember that.
And I remember my first ever experience with Myles was that he would leave not just a puddle, it would be a pool of sweat. After we were just in the warm-up, okay? It wasn't even like at the end of class. Like we would be like getting off the floor, and Keisha was like, everyone stop. We need to just wipe this up.
But that's a Keisha warm-up. Can we backtrack?
It is a Keisha warm-up.
It's not like a lunge stretch,
that
y'all.
Warm-up is no joke. But
that's a workout.
He would be drenched head to toe, and then we'd go across the floor, and there would be sweat just flying everywhere, and we'd be like, we're in the splash zone, we've got to watch.
Duck, everyone
but he was such a hard worker. I mean, still is a hard worker, but I just remember being in that class being like, I need to give it up for this man, because I literally didn't know anything about Myles. I didn't know his background. I didn't know that he had literally just started dancing like basically a year ago. And I just remember watching and being like, this man gets it. Like, he's got hard work written all over his face, all over his body. He's like pushing, everything. And it like made me want to work harder. I was like, oh my God, like I need to be sweating like that. Like I'm not working hard enough. But no, that was like my first experience of Myles in a dance class.
Oh my gosh, so intense. Jesus.
It was so intense. And I was like so scared, and Keisha would say some things to us. She's like, I wouldn't hire any of you. Well, maybe some of you would hire. Myles, I'd hire you, but everyone else I wouldn't hire you. And I'm like,
no,
I remember that exact
No, literally that class was so funny to me, because I still had no idea what was happening. And like all I know is like I'm just gonna work hard.
Fake it till you make it.
For it. And like
no, literally though, like he just had no idea what he was doing, but he just worked so hard and just was like, okay, I'm gonna try it, and I'm gonna just do it with so much confidence and so much passion that like someone's gonna buy it. And everyone was buying it. Everyone was buying it. It was great.
Yeah. That's the only thing. I think again, God is so good, because He still prepared me for this journey and the way that I was trained as an athlete. And like just my mentality as an athlete translated through the training. And so I'm just like, if I'm going to do anything, I'm going to commit and give 100% effort, even if it's wrong, even if I don't know. Someone's going to tell me it's wrong. Someone's going to tell me to do better, but I'm just going to have to commit.
No, that's definitely like saving grace in that sense. And also it can picture how it's easy to cross over, because I feel like so many of us argue dancers are athletes and dance is sport. And so it was basically just transitioning from one sport to another.
Literally. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. So
shout out
do you mind
Park,
touching on what it was like when you left Point Park?
Yeah.
What did graduation time look like for you? I know we know you personally, but for people listening, because I would love to like learn more and hear more about your story with that transition.
Again, I think transitions are just hard. They've always been really hard for me, even since I was little. But I think this particular transition was very difficult for me, because I was like, this is the beginning of my life. Like this is kind of determining, and like, God is going to guide me, and it's okay if things change. Like He's going to guide my steps. But again, it was so scary, because there was like, I think when you're in college, especially for an art form, there's this preconceived notion that you're going to graduate and then like get a job. That's the goal, right? Is like, get into the field that you're studying, so these 4 years don't go to waste. And I just remember seeing like a lot of frustration my freshman year from seniors, and of like, I don't know what to do. I don't have a job. Like, I don't want to move back home. I don't want to do this. And there's nothing wrong with that stuff at all. But I think that put a weird expectation, and I talked to God in that moment, my freshman year, my summer of freshman year through sophomore year. I was like, God, we need to make a covenant right now. Like, if I commit myself as much as you want me to, then I need you to promise me that you're going to make a way for me after this. Like, I want to do these things. I want to shoot a movie. I want to do a tour. I want to do a TV show. Like, I want to book these jobs, and I need these to be available to me if I if I really put myself fully out here. And by the time senior year came, you know, all the seniors are freaking out, and we're just like, what's happening? Because this is also during COVID. So it was a lot more uncertain. There was a whole nother layer of uncertainty. And I was doing SCP. Was it SCP? I think it was SCP. I was doing SCP, and I get a text randomly from Martha Nichols. She's like, "Hey, do you have a second?" And I'm like, "Sure." And she calls me. This is like we're about to graduate in like 3 months, right? She calls me and she's like, "Hey, what are you doing right now?" And I was like, "I'm in school, Martha." Like, what do you mean? What am I doing right now? I'm in school, dude.
Oh
like
my
finals are like
gosh.
next week. And she's like, "Oh, okay. Well, would you want to shoot a movie?" And I was like, "What?
It's Martha Nichols, yes.
Like,
Sure.
is this a
She snaps a
question?"
finger, you say yeah.
Right. And I'm like, "Is this a question?" And she's like, I'm like, "Are you serious?" And she's like, "Yeah. Do you want to shoot a movie?" And I was like, "Yeah. I mean, when are the dates?" Like, but also I'm still like, but is this going to interfere with school? Because I've worked too hard to just leave and not get this degree. Like, I'm leaving here with something, as Denzel would say. Like, I'm getting the degree. Like, are
Yes.
you kidding me? So I'm like, well, if it doesn't interfere with me graduating, absolutely. Like, send me the dates, and it's game. And so she's like, "Okay, cool. Well, I'll hook you up with this agent, and I'll hook you up with this. I'll send you the contract for this. All you have to do is send me like an audition tape." And we have finals that week. I have no time to do this audition tape. Like, I'm gonna fail my classes, or I'm gonna do an audition tape, or I'm gonna like pass my classes, or I'm not gonna do this audition tape. So I'm like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So then again, I just pray about it, and I'm like, "Lord, I don't know, but I need you to be who you are again. Like, this is on you. I release it." And so I text Martha, and I'm like, "Hey, I don't know if I'm gonna have the time to do this, because I'm still in school, and I'm really obligated. Like, this is the priority in my mind." And she's like, "Okay, cool. Don't worry about it." And I'm like, "Don't worry about it? Like, is this over, or like, what do you
Like, do I
mean by
still
that?"
have the job?
Like,
Like, what do you
exactly, like, what are
mean?
can we elaborate? And she's like, "Don't worry about it." And I'm like, "Okay, cool." Like, anxious. And the day passes, and she's like, "Hey, I showed the production team, I showed the director and the choreographer your Instagram. They love you. Can you come here like April this day?" And I'm like, I'm like, "What?" She's like, "Yeah, you didn't even have to send the audition tape. Like, I just showed them Instagram. They love you. So are you going to be able to come here like April 15th and start the design team, start the like skeleton crew phase?" And I was like, short answer is yes, but let me again pray about it. Let me talk to my mom. Let me figure out the logistics of everything. So I'm not just like moving in haste, even though this is exactly what I prayed for, even though like this was literally at the top of, I kid you not, I wrote the list out of things that I wanted to do, and shoot a movie right out of college was literally the first bullet point, right? And I'm just like, "God, you're great. Like, you're so good. You're so good. You're so good." And yeah, from that moment on, I was a little sad though, because I was like, I spent so much time here, and I'm not gonna necessarily get to have this traditional graduation. I'm gonna have to leave my friends early. Like, it was a bittersweet moment, because I'm leaving somewhere that aided in my maturity, aided in like raising me almost as a young adult. But on the other hand, I'm like, but it's time to go. Like, when God says move, I move. So my mom was so sweet. She came and surprised me and did like a mock graduation. It was a real graduation, but she like got all my friends. She got balloons, like cap and gown, and she did like a speech. All my friends had a speech. Like, it was the sweetest thing I've ever experienced, and I was just like, I'm so loved, and it gave me so much closure to be like, yeah, this chapter's over. And from that point on, I packed my apartment. They sent a limo to pick me up, like this blacked out SUV at
Oh my
Stanwick's
God.
apartment. I was so
I
shook.
remember seeing that and hearing about it when we were
I
leaving
was
class. We're like, wait, that's Myles. He's a senior.
yeah, I was so shook. They took care of all of my. I didn't have to pay for an apartment. I was in a luxury condo for 7 months. They gave me a car. I didn't have to pay for gas. They gave me a brand new 2021 model car, like Hyundai Sonata, and it was 2021, so this car barely came out. I didn't have to pay for gas. I had a luxury condo. They flew me out. They picked me up from my apartment, from the airport. Like when I tell you, this was like, I was like, God, you just went crazy. Like,
Yeah,
I
you
was
didn't just like get like a movie. Like you like got the star role.
yeah,
well,
like that's
li-
like, and that's unheard of, especially as
a
dancers.
dancer
Being
Yeah.
treated like that is
Yeah.
unheard of.
and
So I was
being
like,
new
this
in your
is
career.
this is
Right.
so fresh. Like I'm
Yeah.
so green. And I'm just like boo-hooing in the SUV, like on the way to the airport. I'm just like, God, you're so good, and just crying the entire time. And that set the course for my life and really gave me the momentum to be where I am now, honestly. So that was just shout out to Martha Nichols, shout out to Ava Mitchell, shout out to Chloe Arnold. They really, helped me along the way. Especially just being there for 7 months. I really became family with these people and other
Yeah.
dancers, and really built strong relationships
That's
to guide me to my
yeah.
now.
That's a dream team right there. And
Come
honestly,
on.
looking back at, you were worried about your transition from high school to Point Park, and God was like, don't worry, I'll give you people. And now
Right.
your transition from Point Park to the like industry, he's like, don't worry, I'll
Yeah.
give you people.
Giving
And
I
people,
got
yeah.
you.
God will always like give, like, exceed your circumstance. It's
Come
like
on.
asking you will receive, but what we think we want, God's going to give even more. Like
Absolutely.
his ways are greater than our ways. And
Absolutely.
it's not always in, monetary or like materialistic things like that, but he literally provided, got your transportation, your home, your community, and then the job you had been asking and praying for years.
Yeah. Like
Timing's impeccable.
it was so again, just divine. And in that moment, that was another moment where I was like, you love me so deeply and like so vastly. Like he does exceedingly and abundantly all we could ever ask for or imagine. So I'm just like, I couldn't even, the fact that this was even still at the top of my list of like the highest thing I could imagine, he did more. And I was just like, dude, like, what is going on? And it was still hard, don't get me wrong. Like I still had to graduate, right? So I had another set of finals. And during the design team, there was a moment where I had like an AirPod in one ear and I was literally on Zoom or on in class. I was in like death scene investigation where I actually had to pay attention. Random elective, y'all, but it was kind of cool. But anyway, like I just had to take one more elective, and this was the last one where I actually had to pay attention. Like they're asking me questions, and I have an AirPod in one ear, and I'm answering a question. Then I would run over, learn choreography, still listening to like what the class is saying, and then I would run back to the computer and then like answer the question, and then run back. Like it was
That's
so much.
crazy.
It was so much, and
That's
I was like writing essays during the lunch break, like barely eating. It was crazy, but I graduated, and everyone celebrated me on the set, and it was such a cool way to like end that chapter in the midst of the new chapter. Like it was beyond I could even dream. Yeah.
Wow.
amazing.
It's
So good.
possible.
So good.
That's biggest takeaway is it's possible. You just gotta you'll
Absolutely.
find a way. And God will help
Absolutely.
show you the way.
Yeah.
Wow. So you worked on movie set. What did
Mhm.
dance career look like moving forward? So you checked the movie box.
Yeah.
What was it like then when that job ended, stepping into, auditions and
Mhm.
networking? did the next job just come up, or was there that pause time that many dancers experience?
I Again, y'all, I feel like my experience is so unique, and in the fact that again, it's just so God ordained, and
Mhm.
I so that film ended, um, and we were in Boston, and everyone was like, maybe like where are you gonna move to? Because like you know you're out of college, you're not on a coast because it's either East Coast or West Coast is the consensus, I guess, for artists and dancers. And I'm like, I have no clue. Like maybe all my friends are on the East Coast, so maybe I'll go there. But like all of my new friends are on the West Coast, and I don't know. Like I really do want to be in like television and film and all of these really cool performance spaces. And so after that ended, I went home for about a month and a half just to recalibrate because also I was so like I think I was emotionally and mentally and physically burnt out, to be honest.
Yeah.
Um, because there was no rest period from finishing 4 years of school going into the professional world. And I was like learning so many things on the fly and like I was actively changing as a human during that entire period. And I had to like grow up on the fly as well on set. Um, so there was just a moment where I was like, God, I just need some rest and I just need some you and me time to
Yeah.
recalibrate. And eventually I felt this push to go to go to LA. And I was like, okay, but let me scope it out. Let me see. I've been to New York. I know that's not the vibe because every time I would go to New York, it would just be like, nah, this isn't for you. My heart would literally just be like, it would feel like a magnet's pulling me somewhere else. And I'd be like, okay,
Mm.
this is a cool city, but it's not for me. Um, Not yet anyway. I won't say never. But, and then I made a trip to LA. And so I booked a flight and then Ava calls me and she's like, hey, are you going to be available these dates? And it was literally the dates that I was scheduled to land in LA. And she was like, I have a job if you want to like do a TV show for like the Late Late Show. And I was like, yeah, I'm actually going to be in LA like that exact time. And it was with BTS, the K-pop group BTS. And
Yeah.
like I was like, God, what are you doing? Like at this point, like I get it. And I'm not gonna say stop, but I'm just like, what is going on here? Like it's just like love after love after love after gift after gift after gift. And I'm just like, if it can't get any better, but um to again confirm the destination, like I get there. And at the same time, I almost feel like the city's trying to repel me as well, but in like a
Mm.
whole different way. Like uh definitely experiencing like some spiritual warfare when I come to LA in terms of a lot of things went wrong. Because I came out here by myself and I got a rental car and then like I'm on the 101 and then the tire blows out of nowhere. Like I didn't roll over a nail, nothing sharp, it just blows. So I'm like on the highway changing this tire. The company can't come and so I'm out like by myself. And then there's another situation where like I got locked out of the apartment that I was staying at and so like I had to spend a night in the car. Like it
Oh
was
my
too much.
gosh.
But I again just the Holy Spirit was like, you're supposed to be here, don't let this stuff
Mhm.
scare you. I'm like, okay, all right, Lord, like that makes sense. Like, of course, if I was destined to be here, the enemy would want to do everything in its power to get me away from here because
Exactly.
you have some type of destiny, you have some type of purpose for me being here. So I'm gonna push. I'm gonna push
Mhm.
back in the authority that you've given me. So I'm gonna push back. And so I did that job. It was so much fun. Everyone that I did the movie with was doing that job and I was like my friends and so like
People
it was
again.
just confirmation again, community. He confirmed it by
Yeah.
community. um and yeah, I made that transition. um and I experienced such a juxtaposition like in my career life. Things were going great. Like I was booking a couple of TV shows. I did like I don't know 3 other movies after that. And but on the same time, emotionally, I was still so tired and burnt out from just transition after transition after transition, and like never gave myself time to acknowledge like I'm tired. I kind of fed into this like this grind culture of like go go go, and just like you can rest when you're dead, or like just push through it and all this stuff. But it's like my body was screaming like we need to chill. Like we need time to really like process the fact that you're tired. And um when I finally listened to God in that moment, I experienced like a moment of depression. And so like in my personal life, I'm feeling depressed, but in my career, I'm thriving and things are going great. So I was experiencing both ends of the spectrum, but God still met me in the middle and was so, kind and loving as a father to just give me rest and just say, you don't have to wear this mask. You don't have to be this thing that you think you need to be while you're in this space, and you can just be how you feel in this moment. So it was a weird transition period moving here, but eventually, again through community and support, that burden was just lifted, and just started thriving and feeling a lot better and actually enjoying it. At first, I was like, "Oh, LA sucks." Like it's like, "Oh, it's so weird out here," um, and I just remember also thinking like, "It's so evil out here." Like, God, you want me to come to LA? Like, ew, are you sure? And he's like, yeah, I'm sure. I'm like,
Really?
okay. And like, I'm living like on right off of Hollywood Boulevard, so there's like a bunch of people like screaming outside all the time and like foaming
Crazy
at the
central.
mouth, and like a lot of dark things happening. And I'm just like, okay, this is where you have me. Is whoa, but again, just feeling so protected and covered that I was like, okay, it is what it is. I can stick this out because I'm good. But
Yeah.
it was hard, but at the same time, um, prosperous in the
Yeah.
midst of that hard.
The protection and peace in the midst of chaos
Yeah,
is key, I think, to like kind of know that you're still supposed to be there,
right.
because so many dancers experience that, like you get caught up in the hustle culture that you forget to like look at where you are, and then when you finally do take that pause, which the rest sounds so scary half the time because you're
Yeah,
like, wait, I'm supposed to stop what I'm doing, I'm supposed to rest. Like, no, I don't. I need to pay my bills, I need to like keep booking
right.
jobs, keep building the resume. But then you take that pause and you're like, okay, I don't know what to do. But I think if you can say you're at peace, like you said, when you walked in Point Park, you knew you had peace.
Yeah,
And if you're there and you still feel that peace in despite how crazy the industry feels, then it's like that bit of confirmation to know that you are where you're supposed to be and to stay put.
yeah. Absolutely, absolutely.
Goodness. Are you
I
still
think
in LA right now?
yeah. I'm still in LA.
Okay.
I'm not going anywhere anytime soon until until he's like move, or I feel the nudge to move. But
Yeah.
I think another thing that gave me confirmation that I was supposed to be there was the amount of warfare that I experienced. Like I
Just
was
about to
like,
ask about
oh,
that.
so I'm really supposed to be here because again, it feels like the entire city is trying to get me to like. My car got towed twice when the first week I moved here, and the week after it got towed for the second time. I have a truck, so they stole my catalytic converters. I have two. They sawed both off, and like I just like got into my truck one day and it was like sounds like a
Wow.
NASCAR, and I'm like, dude, what is going on? Like,
No.
Oh my gosh.
and like I just experienced so much warfare to try to discourage me. And there were times where I was like, I want to go. I want to leave. I want to go home. But um God was just like, no, I'm with you in the
Yeah.
midst of this. And of
Yep.
course it's gonna be hard, but it would be harder if you didn't have me, but you have me. But that gave me the confirmation, like, no, you need to be here. There's a purpose. Like the enemy sees something in you being here that is not sitting well. So God has a bigger plan, and God has you anchored here for a reason. So I can have faith of who's in my boat. I can trust, even though it's a storm, I can trust like Jesus in my boat. So if I need to take a nap, I'll take a nap. I'll chill out. I'm good. So that gave me peace of mind for sure. Oddly, the warfare gave me peace of mind. How funny is that? But yeah, that gave me peace of mind.
You know what? It doesn't have to make sense to other people, but you're like, despite it feel like everything's going wrong, I know, like you would say, I know I'm supposed to be here. It's okay.
Absolutely.
Despite it all, it is still good.
Yeah.
Dawson, were you about to say something?
No, I'm just taking it all in.
I know.
Honestly.
I was just thinking, like, just listening to the way you speak about your career and your life and God's presence and what He's done for you and through you. Keep going back to how you mentioned earlier that you have such a unique career and unique path compared to other dancers. And the biggest thing that is coming to my mind is I think the presence of faith in your career and leading your career is what's made it so unique. And that was a big eye opener for me when I stepped away from structured dance programs, like graduating college, was the lack of faith in many, many, many dance environments that I was in. So when I was finally out of them, I found that. And I'm curious what advice or words you could give to a dancer who may be falling into that trap or feeling the anxiety, depression around dance, because it is really hard to like not get sucked in to that culture. And I'm just curious what advice you would have for dancers just going into their career.
I think for me, what I really had to come to terms with was that dance doesn't belong to me. I love it so much, and I have such a deep rooted passion for it. But once I started viewing it as more of a form of worship than something to gratify myself and instead something to worship God with, I loosened my grip on dance. Like at first it felt like dance was in my palm and I was just like doing this so much. And then eventually I was like, you know what, like I experienced the most pushback when I was doing this. So then I was like, okay, God, how do I let your will be done even though I love this thing? And he was just like, open your hand. Let me be who I am, and don't be afraid if I take it. Don't be afraid if I put something else there. Don't be afraid if I put it back, like it's mine to begin with. So still having love for it, but loving him more and knowing that he loves me more than he loves dance. And he knows me better than he knows dance, or he knows what's best for me. I think that allowed me to release this idea of like, if I'm not dancing, then something's wrong. Or even in terms of community, like finding a faith-based community outside of the space to anchor you, and then also letting that bleed through to the space, like finding it and like finding other dancers who believe, and then like making a point to connect outside of dance and really creating relationships. But again, like it can be discouraging because there's a lot of secular activity going on, and the thing to really anchor you as a believer is to know that like we're called to be in the world but not of it. So like we're going to be in the spaces. If not, God is going to send us to those spaces, but that doesn't mean that we have to latch on to the culture of those spaces. Like we still have to be rooted in our identity that is Jesus at all times. Because in some spaces that I've been in, I'm like, this is the closest to Jesus that some people are ever going to get, him shining through me in this moment, So it's difficult. But I think you have to make it again a discipline to love him more than the thing that you want to do, and know that he loves you enough to know what's best for you. So if it's like, oh, I see you're like falling, you're kind of getting clumsy because you've been in this secular space for a long time, and maybe I need to pull you back to me and like give you the gift of humility. That's going to have to happen, and that doesn't mean I'm taking it away from you, but it just means that I just want you to spend time with me so that you're recalibrated in the alignment that is me. So I think, yeah, set your eyes on eternal things, not things of this world, is the best advice I can give. That'll cover the coast of all of the wishy-washiness, of the industry, in any industry, honestly.
That's so powerful. And reminded me that I was speaking with a friend this past week about, having this battle of, well, I'm pursuing dance, but the spaces I'm in feel so secular that I'm like, am I really, like, is this really praising God, worshiping God right now? And we were talking that, if we're going in with our eyes fixed on God, on Jesus, it's hard when the world around you feels like it's trying to pull you away from the Lord, but it's almost like taking it a step further. Instead of seeing, this dance job or this set or even just like this class as a form of worship, and whether it's like taking care of the temple of the Holy Spirit or, praising God. And I think of like Psalm 149, like praise his name by dancing. Like we literally had a conversation of how like we try to take that literally when we step into spaces, but it's almost like making it about ministry as well. How you made that comment that maybe this is the closest someone's going to get to Jesus by me being in a space with them. I don't know if you've like been in other scenarios or jobs or environments before where you've thought about that, or have you ever shifted your mind as like maybe God is sending me to this space that maybe I don't feel the most comfortable in as far as like a dance job, but maybe he's sending me here to serve others, and like through me he's using me as a vessel for that.
Yeah, I think, interestingly enough, that's what I pray for. Like, use me as a vessel. That's what I seek out, is like, how can you use me? Use me as you see fit. Like, I don't even want to make the decisions for my life myself. I want you to decide who I am for you. And so if you see me as a vessel to go into this space where no one knows you and it's uncomfortable as hell, then send me and I'll go. Because at the end of the day, it's your will, not mine. So, and that was the whole reasoning. I like actually was like, I have to come to LA, because I was like, there's no like, I love you, Lord. Like, why are you sending me here? Like, this is weird. But he's like, well, like, you're called to shine the light on top of the hill, the hill, like the lighthouse on top of the hill. You're called to shine the light and be the salt of the earth. So I'm sending you where there needs to be salt at the end of the day. So you want to be the vessel, you know what I'm saying? So then it's like, all right, so I'm gonna have to go.
Place?
What better place, exactly? And so after and it's still something that, it's a hard thing to swallow still, even because sometimes I go to auditions where I'm like, oof, yikes, I don't know if this is for me. Or I've walked out of auditions because they haven't aligned with the Lord. And but I think even just staying true to who I am and my identity, that is Jesus, like it's allowed me to not feel so swayed and pushed and tossed and turned, even when I feel like I'm doing the complete opposite of what everyone else is doing. And that's kept me sane, I think, while I've been here so far, for the most part.
That's so good. Have you ever felt like you couldn't express your faith in certain dance spaces?
No, I don't think I've ever let anyone make me feel that way. Because even if, one thing about me, I'm gonna talk about Jesus. Like, I can't not talk about him, y'all. Like,
I love it.
He's so good. He's so good to be silent, and like I cannot be silent about his goodness. So even if it's a place where everyone's praising Satan, I'm gonna talk about Jesus. And you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
even
be
if
the
people are
rebel.
like, you're gonna die if you even mention Jesus' name, well, Jesus loves you. Like, I can't not talk about him. And so I'm not really afraid of what people are gonna say or think or do, because at the end of the day, I'm here to please my Father in heaven. So
Praise
it doesn't
Jesus.
matter, it doesn't matter to me. Of course, I've faced. I think this is the other thing that's actually really been on my heart lately, is that we're not facing flesh and blood enemies, but principalities of darkness. So I don't see it as people being upset with me that I love the Lord. I just see it as, okay, this is the opposition. I love this person so deeply, even though that they don't understand what they're doing or how they're behaving against me. But I also know it's not them as the person, because God created them as the person, as the human. But whatever spirit or energy or whatever you want to call it is inside of them, that is the thing that feels so uncomfortable because they're in the presence of the Lord. So it's writhing and aching and screaming and like trying to push the Lord's presence away. So I'm going to be even nicer. I'm going to be even more loving. I'm going to be even more kind, So I just take it as an opportunity to exercise my faith and exercise the strength that I have in Christ. But yeah, I'm not ever going to let anyone silence me about speaking of the Lord or professing my love for him at all.
Yeah. I know that was a thing, once again, like came up in Bible studies with fellow dancers, is I'm scared of the spirit of offense is like circulating the arts so much that's like, well, what if I say something and then I burn a bridge for a job? And I think it's like coming to the piece that if I don't get a job because I'm screaming the name of Jesus, then like the job wasn't even in God's will to begin with. Right. But that's definitely something where it's like, well, I need to pay the bills, I need to get a dance job, but like he will provide. Right. Continue to be obedient.
Yeah. Like he has you.
Yeah.
Like, he's not gonna make you, all things are for your good, and he has plans to prosper you. So he's not gonna like knowingly put you in a situation where you are going to fail. And even if you do fail, it's not failure in his eyes, So
it's the next step.
Exactly.
Could talk for hours, but I know we're getting to the end. We ask everyone this, and I am so curious to hear what you have to say. What is just one thing that you wish we would talk about more as dancers in the industry, or just arts and entertainment in general, or one thing you would love to see change?
That's a great question. I think for sure mental health, in terms of the fact that as dancers, we experience so much rejection and it's so normalized. Like we kind of just experience a lot of no's almost unhealthily, but it's so normal to us to just like keep it pushing, or, oh no, we just got rejected. Okay, it doesn't even hurt, or like whatever. But I think that I think unfortunately, like at some point you become numb to it, but it's not normal to be rejected. Like that was never intended in our nature to be rejected. Like we're supposed to be received. And so I think I wish a lot more people were honest in terms of how they really feel mentally, and not feel like it's weak to say like, yeah, that hurt me. Like that didn't feel good. I just got rejected, or I'm not okay because I've been trying so hard for months and nothing's moving. Or just talk about, the mental state of well-being, because I think we're just called to push through it and accept it. But yeah, we're still humans before we're artists. So
I think love to say health, that here.
Come on, let's go.
Human first, dancer second.
Exactly.
We weren't born dancers. We chose it.
Absolutely. But yeah, for sure, mental health.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. There's so much to say. So much to say on that alone. But definitely resonate with that and try to do our best to like continue to make a space to talk about it, because you're right, like suppressing it isn't gonna, like, it's gonna subside at some point.
Yeah.
Or blow over. You can't just keep pushing it down because at some point the capacity, there's nothing left.
Yeah.
Goodness.
Yeah, I think. Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good.
I was just gonna say, eventually that people don't realize how deeply it does impact you in terms of your personality and your psyche, because like you start to internalize those no's and you start to think I'm unworthy or I don't deserve to be received, and then that starts to bleed into your everyday life. So I think again, getting it out is the antidote for that level of oppression, I guess.
Going off of this before we close out, what is one thing that like you try to practice continuously to take care of your mental health as a dancer, especially as being as active in the industry and with jobs as you are right now?
Prayer is the short answer. Definitely pray. The long answer is make it a point to step away from dance actually, and like let it breathe. You know what I mean? Like when I don't try to force things. If I'm in a space where if I'm not feeling dance, or if I'm not inspired, or if I'm not, if dance just isn't clicking in a moment, I'm like, maybe this is a time to turn and flip to something else. And then that'll honestly lead me back to dance, because I know I love dance so much, and God knows I love dance so much. So he's going to redirect me when it's time. But I think that just means it's time to flip the page for a second. So just actually making a point to take a break and not dance has helped me immensely, for sure. Especially now that it's a job, it's helped me immensely.
We choose to make it more than just a hobby, and people take breaks from work and vacation days. Exactly. And us artists don't like to do the same.
Exactly. We're always artists through and through.
Yeah. Oh, goodness. Well, thank you so much. I feel so at like peace. This episode was a breath of fresh air and just felt very calming just to speak and hear your story and your testimony. Oh, goodness. Almost knocked water over. Before we close out, always happening. Let's be real.
Always happening.
Before we close out, where can dancers find you on social media to connect if they want to continue the chat and just reach out and all that jazz, follow along with your story?
Yeah. My Instagram is Myles_Canonge, MYLES_CANONGE. I'm not that active on social media, y'all, because also mental health thing, but I check my DMs every once in a while. So hit me up. Yeah. Ask questions, engage with me. Let's go. Or also my podcast, You Are Appreciated Pod. You_appreciated_pod. You can DM us there as well, and we'll shoot you a shout out or answer your questions. That'll be great.
We will link the podcast in the description for y'all because it's so wholesome. I love it.
Oh, thanks. Thank you
so much for joining us, Myles. We appreciate it. And
absolutely.
for everyone listening, we'll see you next week.